The late afternoon sun painted San Francisco's sky with orange hues as Stephen Curry drove his Tesla down Market Street. In the back seat, Canon, his 7-year-old son, observed the city through the window, his curious eyes absorbing every detail of the urban landscape that transformed as they left the bright financial district and entered more worn-down areas. They were returning from a practice at Chase Center, where Canon had impressed everyone with his shooting sequence. When they stopped, at a red light at the corner of 6th and Mission, the boy noticed a small improvised camp under the viaduct. Blue and gray tents lined the sidewalk, while people of different ages moved around their scarce belongings. "Dad?" Canon's voice broke the silence. "Yes? Champ? Why do those people sleep on the street?" Stephen took a deep breath. "Well, Canon, some people don't have homes to live in. For various reasons, they ended up losing their homes. But where do they shower? Where do they keep their toys?" asked Canon, with the direct logic of children. "They often use public bathrooms or shelter centers, and they probably don't have many toys, son." After a few moments of silence, came the question that would momentarily leave Stephen speechless. "Dad, why don't we buy houses for the homeless?" The words hit Stephen like a perfect shot. His mind went back to that morning's conversation, when Aisha had read the children a story about sharing and helping others. Riley and Ryan, the older sisters, had enthusiastically discussed how to participate in school donations. Canon had listened in reflective silence, apparently absorbing every word more deeply than they imagined. "It's complicated, son," Stephen began, the words sounding insufficient even to his own ears. "When we get home, we can talk more about it, okay?" Canon nodded, but his eyes revealed dissatisfaction with the answer. During the rest of the journey, Stephen occasionally looked in the rearview mirror, observing his son, who now played distractedly with his Spider-Man action figure, but whose eyes still turned to the windows whenever they passed someone in a vulnerable situation. Upon arriving home, Stephen immediately called Aisha. "You won't believe what Canon just asked me." That night, the aroma of Aisha's chicken curry filled the Curry family dining room. The family gathered around the table enjoying those precious moments that their busy schedule rarely allowed. "Canon made 5 consecutive free throw shots today," Stephen commented proudly. "Really? I can't even do that yet," exclaimed Riley, the firstborn. "Yes, you can," Canon responded automatically. "You just need to bend your knees more, like Dad taught us." The family laughed, but Stephen and Aisha noticed that Canon remained unusually quiet, just poking at his food. They exchanged meaningful glances. Both knew their son's mind was still processing what he had seen. "You know," Stephen began, "Canon asked me a very important question today when we were coming back from practice." All attention turned to the boy, who suddenly seemed shy. "Canon saw some homeless people and asked why we don't buy houses for them," Stephen explained. "Canon has a huge heart," commented Aisha, gently touching her son's hand. "But why can't we?" insisted Canon, finally looking up. "You always say we should help people. We have several houses, don't we?" Stephen put down his cutlery and took a deep breath. "Son, buying houses for all homeless people is more complicated than it seems. In San Francisco, there are thousands in this situation. The problems are complex: mental health issues, drug addiction, job loss, or families who simply can no longer afford rent." Aisha added, "Even if we bought houses for some families, that wouldn't solve the reasons why so many people lose their homes every day." "But," continued Stephen, "as important as providing shelter is ensuring that these people have support to stay in their homes with employment, health care, and education. It's like when we taught you to ride a bike. Giving you the bike wasn't enough. We needed to teach you how to balance and pedal. But you have a lot of money, Dad, said Canon with disconcerting sincerity. On TV, they say you're one of the richest players. Riley and Ryan stifled giggles, while Aisha bit her lip to avoid smiling. Stephen could have explained about taxes, investments, and financial responsibility. Instead, something in his son's hopeful gaze touched him deeply. "You know what, Canon? You're right," he said, to everyone's surprise. "Maybe the question isn't why we can't buy houses, but what if we could do more than just that?" "What do you mean?" asked Ryan, genuinely interested. "What if, instead of just giving houses, which would help temporarily, we created something that could help more people for much longer? A program that offered not just housing, but also job opportunities, education, health care. Like an entire community," exclaimed Riley excitedly. The whole family soon became involved in the discussion, proposing ideas and possibilities. The weight that seemed to oppress Canon's small shoulders began visibly to dissipate. "So we're really going to help those people, Dad?" he asked hopefully. Stephen exchanged a long look with Aisha, a silent communication that contained both determination and understanding of the challenges ahead. "Yes, champ. We're going to help." And it all started because you asked the right question. 2 weeks later, the Curry Foundation's conference room was unrecognizable. Whiteboards displayed complex diagrams, statistics about homelessness, and architectural sketches. Housing specialists, psychologists, and urban planners were in intense discussion. "The problem isn't just housing," explained Dr. Melissa Chen, a public policy specialist. "It's a cycle involving mental health, substance abuse, lack of employment opportunities, and social reintegration." The Curry Home Initiative began to take shape as a structured organization with clear goals and a funding model that combined investments from the Curry family, corporate donations, and partnerships with the public sector. The program's pillars were defined: transitional housing for families, professional training programs, ongoing mental health support, and, at the children's insistence, a component that involved young volunteers in community activities. Canon participated in several meetings, apparently drawing in his notebook, but absorbing everything. During a budget discussion, he timidly raised his hand. "People need a place for their pets, too," he said simply. "The lady under the viaduct had a dog. She won't want a house if she can't take him." The program began to include pet-friendly accommodations. Not everything was easy. Stephen faced resistance from City Hall and fearful neighborhood residents. It was Canon who inadvertently offered a solution. "Dad, when my friends don't want to play with me, I show them how fun it is, and then they want to join in." The approach completely changed. Neighborhood residents were invited to actively participate in designing the program, not just as spectators. Resistance decreased as the project became a collective construction. 4 months later, a family of 4, who had been living in a car for 6 months, became the first residents of the pilot program. The Curry children participated in the key handover, with Canon personally bringing a basket with basic products and a note: "Welcome to your new home." The story was captured by the media and quickly went viral. Stephen began using post-game interviews to talk about the initiative, and other NBA players showed interest. At the official inauguration of the first Curry Community Center, Canon held the scissors together with his father, cutting the symbolic ribbon. 1 year later, the Foundation's conference room was filled with journalists for the annual press conference. "We now have 12 centers operating," explained Stephen. 3 in San Francisco, 2 in Oakland, and others spread across major American cities. The numbers were impressive. More than 2,000 people served, with 78% achieving permanent housing stability. 1,200 formal jobs created, and an estimated social return of $5 for every dollar invested. A reporter directed a question directly to Canon. How do you feel seeing all this happen after your question? The boy timidly adjusted the microphone. I just wanted people to have homes like I do. I didn't know it would turn into all this. Then he added, but there are still many people without homes. We need to work more. Canon's interview on 60 Minutes was seen by millions, and his phrase, "It's not cool to have so much money if other people don't even have a place to sleep," went viral, appearing on t-shirts and fundraising campaigns. Stephen was invited to speak at the UN about housing policies, insisting that Canon accompany him. What we discovered wasn't a miracle, he told the world. We discovered that when we approach a complex problem with a child's curiosity, asking why not, instead of listing reasons why something can't be done, we find solutions that were there all along. The model inspired similar initiatives by other celebrities and athletes. A federal bill, nicknamed the Canon Law, proposed funding for initiatives based on the Curry model. At home, after a day full of commitments, Stephen found Canon drawing intently. "What are you doing, champ?" "Drawing a hospital boat for people who don't have doctors." "What do you think, Dad? What else can we fix?" Stephen smiled, feeling a mixture of pride and admiration. "You know what I learned from you, Canon? Sometimes it's the simplest questions that lead to the biggest changes." Canon nodded distractedly, not fully realizing the revolutionary impact that his compassionate and curious mind had already caused in the world.